Hey, hello, you're Second Trial with Wolf. Grow like a few minutes riffing on IT and IT security. Today looking at Zoom. Zoom, the meeting software. Zoom, the vulnerable software. Zoom, the software that right now everyone's like, oh, they can read our meetings and open our cameras or not, or listen to our mics or maybe not, or anyways, it's all bad. I'm not going to talk about any of that. I'm not going to talk about any of the potential exploits with this particular vulnerability. What I do want to talk about is 3 things that we can learn from what happened. See, what happened was Zoom installs on the Mac. It installs this web service. The web service is localhost, and that web service is vulnerable. And there's some problems with that web service. And so I want to look at that web service. I want to talk about the problems with that web service, and I want to talk about a couple key takeaways that you can have if you're maintaining software or if you're writing software. Problem number 1, and misconception number 1, is this happening on a Mac, and there's still people are like, oh, well, you don't need to worry about Macs because they're more. The issue is, no matter your platform, if people are writing software on it, people are writing software with bugs. And if people are writing software with bugs, a percentage of those bugs are vulnerabilities. And a percentage of those vulnerabilities will allow remote code execution. That is the physics of writing code. Doesn't matter your OS, doesn't matter your platform. Now there's some key variables in there about whether or not it'll be attacked, whether or not it'll be found, the prevalence of it, the likelihood. By the end of the day, there's no magic bullet. I'm really sorry. I wish there was. We could all run Macs or Linux or whatever it may be. But the physics of software is people write code, code has vulnerabilities. And those vulnerabilities occasionally are exploitable. Issue number 2 is that this was meeting software that usually ran as, you know, in your browser, or you click on it and it would open up. This was not something that you would think would run a web server. However, there's quite a large number of services these days that are running web servers. It's a very easy way locally to communicate back to service processes. We used to do this over at LPC and RPC. We used to do this with listener ports and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to worry about any of that. The point is as an industry, we've standardized on web APIs, which means oftentimes you will install stuff with a web API. There's a large number of these small web services that have been discovered through Google's research product, for example, to have vulnerabilities. And these vulnerabilities are the OWASP top 10, right? They're the number 1 vulnerabilities, or number 10 vulnerabilities that we expect all the time. But you wouldn't think to apply OWASP top 10 to a meeting software. It doesn't seem to make sense. And that is number 2. Number 2 is, when we write vulns, a lot of times these vulns are within OWASP top 10, and OWASP top 10 does apply even if you don't think you're writing or running a web app, because you might not know. It might sneak up on you, or it might still be around after you uninstall, which gets to number 3. Number 3 is, part of the problem with Zoom is when you uninstalled it, for whatever reason on the Mac, it seemed to leave this web service there. And the web service was still vulnerable, and it was still running, and you didn't know it was running. Well, unless you're checking processes, but as a normal user, you didn't know it was running. And that gets to issue number 3. We are so accustomed to, oh, you uninstall the software, you reduce your attack surface, problem goes away. In this day and age, with how easy it is to reimage and how easy it is to wipe and reload, it's much better to blast away and go with a clean image than try and remove and re-add software. Oftentimes when you remove software, it leaves things behind. That's just the way it is. And these things oftentimes are vulnerable, no matter whatever else you're doing. You see, these are the issues. I don't care about your OS. I don't care about whether or not you think it's a web service, because it might be a web service, and I don't care whether or not you think it's still there, because it's probably still there because it didn't uninstall. Those are, to me, some of the key lessons from Zoom that apply regardless of what service and software you're running. And if you're building software and you're building services, please educate your users so they know there's a web service. Please educate your developers so they're writing cleaner code. And please, please, please do clean installs so it removes it and cleans up after it. What do you think about this Zoom breach? What web meeting Platform may be broken next. Comment, social media, hit me up.